This is a thermal imaging sensor designed to plug into the bottom of a USB-C Android cell phone. It's from CEM, the model number is T-09F. So I was sent this to review for free. If you wanted to buy it, it would cost you $170. So in the box, we have the imaging sensor itself inside of a little plastic hard case. And there is a plastic shell, which I believe there might be something behind, but it's difficult to remove. Yes. Right. So we have the operating instructions manual and something wrapped up in bubble wrap. It comes with this little adapter, which will actually plug in the USB-C from the camera, and it plugs into a micro USB port. And this unit has the infrared sensor right there, and it's not really behind a lens or anything, so they say don't touch the sensor, keep it in the case when you're not using it, don't put any solvents on the sensor. So there are no buttons or batteries, so this is going to get power directly from your phone. So the specifications in the manual say that the sensor resolution is 120 by 90 pixels, has a 50-degree field of view, it takes less than 150 milliwatts of power, it's designed for Android USB Type-C. And the temperature range of what it can measure is -20 to 400 degrees centigrade. The accuracy says plus or minus 3 degrees centigrade. The manual says, once you install the app, it'll look like this, but it doesn't say where to get the app. And this is for Android phones, so I'm going to go look on the Android Play Store to look for an app. Okay, I've tried ThermView Plus, which didn't work. I've tried the Smart ThermView, which didn't work. So now I'm going to try ThermView Pro. Alright, so I noticed when I was plugging this thing into the Thermal View app, it popped up a thing that said, hey, allow it to access MobeIR Air. And searching on the Google Play Store, there is a MobeIR application, and it's for thermal imaging cameras from the Wuhan Guide Infrared Company. So I'm going to try installing that and see if that works with this module. So first up, we're going to just try plugging the module in after the app has been installed, but is not running. Open MobeIR to handle MobeIR Air. Always open this app when this is connected. So that looks pretty good. Access to the phone storage space and the phone's camera. I hear some clicking noises, and I am getting what looks like a thermal image now. Excellent. And now it's trying to show me how to use the app. Okay, so I have this thing working, and you can clearly see there is the laptop when I have the CPU going at 100% right now, so the laptop's pretty warm. And here is this power bank that I have plugged into the laptop that's charging it up. And so yes, you can definitely see the hot spots in an area. So if I turn on the analysis box, it'll say, hey, within this box, this dot is at the hottest point, which is 81 Fahrenheit, and then the minimum point is 76 Fahrenheit. I move over here, it'll jump into the box there, and it says, hey, we have a max of 84 on the power bank. So here, looking at my door, you can see where the door is thicker or thinner and where more or less heat comes through the door. So you can see the windows. And also, up here in the ceiling, that black area is the air conditioner vent, and the minimum temperature down there is 65 Fahrenheit. Alright, so there you can see my hand waving around. I'm going to set my hand down on the table here, and I'm heating up the table a little bit. When I lift my hand off the table, you can clearly see the handprint. Okay. So hardware-wise, this little hardware thing does what it says it's going to do. It's a thermal infrared camera. It's a low resolution. It's 120 by 90 pixels, but you don't need a super high resolution just to find hot spots and anything that's a problem because of the thermal issues. Software-wise, the manual never specified what's the name of the app. I looked it up and it said, oh, you're supposed to do a thermal view. And the CEM software had 3 different thermal view apps. And one of them seemed to work, or seemed to indicate it should work with this device, but it did not work with this device. So I eventually got this MOB IR app, and that app did work with the device. It doesn't match up with what's in the user's guide, but it allows you to take pictures and see the view from the infrared camera. And so this gives you the basic functionality you need. It has a little measurement area where you can say, hey, you know, what's the max minimum temperature within this area? So there's a menu here where you can say, hey, let's put a dot here, measure the temperature at the dot, you know, so right here it says my hand is 93 Fahrenheit. You can do lines and, you know, stretch a line across and it'll tell you information about that line, or you can do an area. All right, so my thoughts are the hardware sensor works fine. It's, you know, 120 by 90 isn't the highest resolution, but it's good enough to find hot spots in the electrical panel or just kind of see what part of this electronic device is putting out the most warmth. You know, it'll find places where you have serious leakages of heat in or out. And it does seem like the measurements are pretty much accurate temperature-wise. Now, I have used devices that cost twice as much of this, and they have higher resolution, but also another big benefit is the software is a lot slicker. You know, so the software that they claimed would work with this didn't work with it. I was able to find some software that worked with it, and it did an okay job, but I've used professional IR software, and it's a lot better. So if you can't afford more than the price point here, you know, it's an acceptable option. It gets the job done. But if you can spend about twice as much, you know, at the $400 price point, you can get a higher resolution, much nicer software stack with something a little nicer than this. So comparing this to the FLIR One Pro, which is $400, you know, there's no comparison. This guy's twice as expensive. It also probably has about twice the resolution. And the software stack, the FLIR software stack, is just a lot nicer and easier to use. So if you can afford it, I would say skip the $180 price point, jump to the $400 price point. But if you can't afford it, this guy will give you a lot of the benefits of the infrared camera, you know, identifying hot spots, making it easy to measure where's the hottest point on a particular piece of electronics, for example. So it certainly gives you a lot of value for that $180 price point. But the software was what I thought really was lacking on this product. I liked about this guy over the FLIR One Pro is the FLIR One Pro has a built-in battery and you have to have that battery charged, whereas this guy, it doesn't have a second camera, it doesn't have an optical camera, but it's ran entirely from the phone, and so there's no battery in here to die or need to be charged. You just plug it into your phone and it works. So there is that simplicity, which is kind of nice. I'm a little worried by the fact that the IR sensor isn't really protected by anything. You know, here at least you have a little piece of IR translucent glass in front of it. So you do have to be careful with this guy not to, you know, let anything touch that sensor. So the FLIR One Pro has this built-in optical camera that will overlay these white lines to give you an idea of what you're looking at. Even though this electrical panel, pretty much all of the breakers are about the same temperature, you can tell that, hey, I'm looking at the electrical panel here. And without that, you just kind of get a solid wash of color, which might be enough to tell you, hey, none of these breakers are overheating, but you're not as confident that